A couple of years ago, the Scottish Book Trust asked if I would write a personal story to help inspire other stories from members of the public on the theme of rebel. So I had never written a personal story about my own life before, but my mum very kindly allowed me to write this one about me and her. So this story is called, oh, it does have swearing, I'm sorry. It's called Thelma and Louise, Bitch. How me and Mum came to be living it up on the Forfar Road is a pure massive saga, so I'm just going to tell you the best bit, the end. We were visiting Edinburgh fae Dundee, staying at my great auntie's flat on the other side of the meadows. It was a summer night, and we were walking back fae toon through the line o' trees called Jawbone Walk. And that's when my mum's husband put his hand up my skirt, right in front of her. Years before this man laid hands on me, but that time it was mere in violence, no like this. This was something a wee bit different, even for him. That time he tried to persuade Abdi it hadn't happened, because I was a teenager and he was a man, a heedy o' a scale, a responsible adult. And you ken what I'm like, volatile, a shouter, a screamer then, a those hormones and that attitude, bitch. Back then, I didn't tell Mum outright, because I couldn't speak the words to her, so he got to do the talking. He'd a hold over her, our money, our sense of what she'd been, and slowly, slowly, he cut her off for her own life. Fisticuffs are the words he used, because as it happens, sometimes a 40-year-old man needs to lay fists on a girl of 17. A few years went by, I didn't see that much of Mum, but enough time had passed for us to draw a line under it, until this night on Jawbone Walk, when I was grown, 25 or 26. This night, I didn't shout and scream, I got a minter. And even though it was dark, she'd seen what he'd done, so there was shame again atween us. Except 12 years he'd spent trying to rip us apart and he couldn't do it. He didn't need to brack things but didn't ken how. There's an unpredictable quality to a desperate man. He tried so awfully hard to be different. He wore bright-coloured waistcoats, deliberately odd socks and a fedora hat. He was a member of Tony Blair's Labour and liked singing Cher. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're strong enough. But that's for his story, and I didn't care to tell it. Soon it would be the day we'd hire a van and pack up all Mum's stuff when he wasn't in. He'd come back to an empty house and we'd wash the flares or a rented flat in a closey, only a few streets away, but we had a pretty efficient buzzer entry system and twa old Italian sisters that lived side by side underneath, keeping an eye on things. No long after, me and the lad I was living we split up, and I came to live on Forfar Road with a sore heart and weight issues for eating too many hot dinners. That's when the fun began. Every night, Mum came home with wine. All I had to do was put dry pasta in a pan and she was popping the cork, filling the glasses. I'd never had a better flatmate. We went on holiday to Finland and swam in near there 55,000 lakes. We took saunas and joined a gym, got back massages and had our hair done. I did a master's degree and Mum went on dates with guys that weren't psychotic. We watched Thelma and Louise on TV and got in debt, then got out it again. We had pals over and Mum threw pillows and broke loads of glass. I mooned the bus for the windy. Mum went all the way to Ayrshire to get a dog that turned out wild. We tell each other the stories for our lives. We joined groups, then unjoined them, together. We cleaned up shite spewing for the Sanny Flow toilet our landlord wouldn't fix. We learned to fall asleep in the dark. I graduated, then signed on the dole, and we started a book club that was just her and me. We sang songs and took photographs, and in time, I saw a squirrel eat a nut out Mum's hand. Fae the windy, fireworks blasted different coloured light year after year, while we waited for her divorce to come through. And all that time he was dragging it out, we lived life and were defiant in our happiness, free to be a family again, free, free. A few years later, Mum was sat outside the maternity ward, reading a book and waiting for hours, just in case I needed her. And as it happened, I did. Through all the antenatal classes, nobody tells you that the border of birth and death is paper thin. Nobody tells you how it feels being there, in between, or that your mind might try to reach that place again and again, because there's comfort and sometimes a gripping fear, kenning what it'll be like to hand yourself out at life's end to that nawa room. Mum was in there wi' me. She cut the cord when my boy gulped air that first time, and now they play the games mindo as a bairn, and I see my mum fae back then, afore the bruise of that man took hold. I see how our happiness has erased him, how we've rubbed the fucker out.